Hi guys, this is Saurabh. Today we see something about the exceptions into our PLSQL. Okay, now why we use exception handling? What is mean by the exception handling? Why we use this exception handling into our programming language? Okay, so this is something about that exception handling. Now see, there are the two types of error into our programming language. First is your compilation and second is your runtime error. Okay, now compilation error, the error which encounters at a time of syntax checking. This is your compilation error. Now what is the runtime error? When you exactly execute your program and your PLSQL program is your deal with the database or the SQL select statement, at that time the error encounters, this is your runtime error. Okay, at a time of execution means deal with your SQL select statement and the data fetch from your SQL statement and trying to store it into the variable. Okay, so such type of error is a runtime error. Now how, suppose such type of error is encountered, so how we manage it? So for that we use one special section into our PLSQL, and the such type of section is known as the exception handling section. Okay, the section is called the exception handling section. Okay, so exception handling section is take action on a runtime error. When any runtime error encounters, it immediately manage into your exception section. Okay, now see, this is the syntax of your exception, how we write the exception into our PLSQL program. Now in order to handle runtime error in a program, an exception handler must be added. To why we write a exception handler? To manage the runtime error. Clear? Here is the syntax. Now see, this is the exception keyword. When you write the exception keyword into your executable section, at that time your exact exception section starts. Clear? And exception section is always between your begin and end. Okay, so exception, this is your exception name and this is the action which taken on that exception. Clear? So this is some syntax. Now there are mainly three types of exception. First is the predefined, second is your non-predefined, and third is your user defined exception. Okay, now we see one by one. First is our predefined exception. Clear? Now predefined exception, what is meant by the predefined exception? Predefined exception means the exception which is defined by the oracle, or the name of the exception and the identity of that exception is defined by the oracle. Such type of exception is known as the predefined exception. Clear? Now second is the non-predefined exception. Now what is the non-predefined exception? Non-predefined exception is such type of exception which have no name but have the oracle defined code. Okay, means the name of the exception is non-defined by the oracle but the code behind it is defined by your oracle. So how we manage it? Okay, now see, for the exception here, when exception name, so exception name is required. So how we manage the non-predefined exception? So there is some rule behind it. We see at a time of example, we see it, but we can pass one name to that error code which is defined by your oracle. Clear? Now third is your user defined exception. Now what is meant by the user defined exception? User defined exception means the name and the code, both things are defined by the user. Okay, all the actions or all the exceptions are raised by your user. Such type of exception is known as the user defined exception. Okay, so in the next video we see the predefined exception, some predefined exception names, and we see the example on that predefined exception. Okay, thank you.